ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ ॐ प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धम् गीतामृतम् महत्। वसुदेवसुतम् देवम् कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दम् कृष्णम् वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। मूकम् करोति वाचालम् पङ्गुम् लङ्घयते गिरिम् यत्कृपातमहम् वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। Let me summarize what we have been discussing for the last nearly 1.5 years. Arjuna was in a dilemma. That means he was terribly in a miserable condition. That is why the very first chapter is titled as Arjuna Vishada Yoga. We need to remember why this first chapter in a spiritual book is called Vishada Yoga, because that which brings us nearest to God is only one. Happiness rarely, if at all, brings us to God. It is only unhappiness, suffering, misery. And that's what Arjuna represents. Each one of us have to go through life through misery. This whole world is a battlefield. Our life is a battlefield. And we are fighting against what? Two. Sukha as well as dukkha. This is called dvandva. Dvandva means duality. Our greatest enemy is Maya, ignorance. Maya manifests in which form? Only in two forms. Maya comes in the form of happiness as well as unhappiness. Everything in this world, in our life, is full of these only two. Good, evil, life, death, light, darkness, happiness, unhappiness. Every minute these are altered. That which is changing is called Maya. And by definition, duality means what? That which constantly changes. Happiness into unhappiness, life into death, and death into life. This is one point we have to remember. Other religions, they do not usually officially accept that there is life after death. There is, but only one life. Judgment day they will be waiting. That is very irrational type of idea. For Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, this idea of reincarnation. That means what? Life is, birth is followed by death. Death is followed by birth. That represents everything in between. The whole life is nothing but duality. What is our problem? We are tossed about by both of them. When we go up because of happiness, when we go down because of unhappiness, both agitate the mind. And we discussed one important point. What is happiness? Happiness, by definition, is going beyond time, space and causation. And what is it to go beyond time, space and causation? To go beyond the mind and body. If you go beyond mind, body also is included. If you go beyond body, mind is not excluded. Because in dream state, we have all these problems. Physically, externally, the sense organs are not functioning. But equal misery and happiness we experience in our dream. So then, what is the way? What is happiness? Momentarily, we forget time, space and causation. That means we go beyond the mind. When we go beyond the mind, there is no duality. When there is no duality, that state is called what? Non-duality. And there is no two, and that is the goal of life. That is the ultimate solution for every problem of life. what is it that everyone is seeking really? Every creature is seeking only one thing, but we put it in two ways. Dukkha nivritti, ananda prapti. We want to avoid any type of misery, even the smallest type of misery. We tolerate. If a mosquito sits on us, then it is not too painful, but we don't want it. And ananda prapti. We want constant happiness. How much happiness? Two expressions we give. Infinite happiness and eternal happiness. Infinite happiness means every second. Eternal happiness means for all time. What is the meaning of infinite happiness? Because whenever we experience happiness, it is always limited. Limited in, suppose I am seeing something very nice, but all the other sense organs may be starving. Suppose you are eating something. Maybe it is very hot. Maybe it is full of mosquitoes. You imagine in India and all that. So, it is limited and we are not happy. We wish to be happy in every respect. So we have got so many unfulfilled desires. We want to possess everything. How much can you possess? We can't even possess this much more food in our stomach than we can really hold. But our desire has no end. It is a bottomless pit. Really speaking, that's what we want. So infinite happiness means any sort of imaginable happiness. And for eternity means what? Okay, this second I have infinite happiness, but next second it may not be there. No, we want forever. The name of God is infinite and eternal happiness. Sat, Chit and Ananda. That's our goal. Ultimate solution, only spiritual solution. But there are intermediate solutions are there. One solution is practice of dharma. Follow dharma. So that you get happiness. Dharma means punya. Punya means happiness. Dharma means virtue. Virtue means happiness. Adharma means sin. Sin means suffering. It is possible to reduce the amount of what is called karmic unhappiness, but not existential unhappiness. When Buddha was talking about life is full of unhappiness, what was he talking about? Existential misery. What is existential misery? Birth is a misery. Growth is a misery. When the teething problems, we call it. So if there are less teeth, there is a problem. If there is more teeth, then also there is a problem. If there is unwise teeth, there is also a problem. If wisdom tooth comes, even more problem. This is continuous. Then middle age, then old age, then disease, then death. So in Hinduism, it is embodied in 6 changes. Shad Vikara, birth, confirmation, growth, old age, disease, and ultimately death. Only solution is spiritual solution. In the second chapter, from 11th to 30th verse, the Lord has expounded the nature of the self. Atma Swarupa, the nature of the self. What has that got to do with us? Because if God is there, rationally speaking, then we all must be God only, rationally. If you say God exists, there is no other choice but to know that we are also God. Why? Because God is infinite. God is everywhere. If God is everywhere, then where I am sitting, who is there? It cannot be but God only. Oh, so hard. So many times we can listen. So many times somebody can say. So many times we can read. Ascharyavat pasyati kaschadenam ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyah ascharyavat shrunoti shrutvaapyenam na veda kas. Even after hearing for so many lives, we don't believe that it. Why is it? Because we are so much convinced of our individuality. And that is a misnomer. Swamiji makes fun. Your individuality. Individuality means what? You cannot divide. You cannot separate. And all that we are is, everything is separate. The hair is going its own way. The hands are going in their own way. The legs are going in their own way. Every part of it is going in its own way. That is our condition. And yet we call ourselves as what? Individual. Swamiji ridicules that idea. From verse 11th to 30th, Atma Swarupa means the nature of the self, thereby indicating, oh Arjuna, you do not exist, Bhishma doesn't exist, Duryodhana doesn't exist. That idea of good and evil. Duryodhana was an evil person, is from whose point of view? From our point of view. When God looks at Duryodhana, what does he say?
God.
Only God. You see, we sing the song, Sadhu Sajjana Janani Tumima Ashadhu Durjan Shuta Toma. Holy Mother, there is this beautiful bhajan on Holy Mother. It says, you are the mother of the good, the virtuous, the spiritual, the great. What about the other people? You are also the mother of Asadhu, Durjana, Suta, Toma. They are also your children. Then what is the difference? Covering. In good people, the covering is very thin. In wicked, so-called wicked people, the covering is very thick. Maya's covering is very thick. To put it in perspective, a wicked person is one in whom tamoguna is very thick. A so-called spiritual person is one in whom the sattva guna is very much. That means this is a difference between our vision. Tamoguna person, he sees everything in the opposite. A sattva guna person, sattvika person, he sees everything almost as it is. When you look at the mirror, and how you know your reflection depends not upon you, but upon the mirror. If the mirror is dusty, dirty, and full of this cobwebs and other things, how does the reflection? Or even better example Swamiji gives. If you stand on the edge of a beautiful lake, when water is very still, we can see our reflection. You can see the whole sky and everything very clearly. So when you look at the clean, very calm and quiet water, then you can see the bottom also. Very nice. But suppose the water is agitated, waves, then how does your reflection appear? Your reflection will be dancing. So then you think, what do you say? Looking at you, I am very restless. But actually you are not restless. So there are two ways of looking. You stand in front of a mirror, and mirror is still, but you dance. How does the reflection appear? Dancing. You stand still and go on moving the mirror. What is the result? It is the same. Atman never moves, but the mind always moves. And mind acts as a mirror. And therefore, it appears to ourselves means to the ego, individual ego, that I am like this, I am small, this is my form, I am restless, I am unhappy, I am happy, all, I am good, I am evil, I am healthy, I am unhealthy. These are all called vrittis in mind. The Lord had described graphically, this is the nature of the self. Thereby also he is indicating, this is your nature. Then he is indicating, if this is your nature, and do you know that this is my nature? You don't know. That's why you are suffering. But you cannot suffer when you know, I am Ananda Swarupa. That's what we call Chidabhasa. Vritti means thought. There can be no vritti without the reflected consciousness plus whatever idea of an object. Both of them combined. There could be no thought without consciousness. After describing the Atma Swarupa, that's our goal, ultimate goal. But what is our immediate goal is we cannot comprehend even that one. And why we cannot comprehend, that also the Lord gives the reasons for that. But he is telling, if you don't need to worry about that now, you discharge your dharma, means your proper duties according to this, your station in life, according to your what you call caste, which means really according to your gunas, guna. And if you do it in a particular way, proper way, then you will slowly progress towards the higher concept. And let me discuss about this point. Verse 31 and 32, the Lord is eulogizing Swadharma. Swadharma means one's own duty. Each one of us have got our own duties. A wife has a duty, husband has a duty, children have duty, teachers have duty, swamis have duty. Everyone, we have our own duties. The only person who doesn't have a duty is one who doesn't have ego. A realized soul doesn't have any ego. If at all you have to call his ego, he says, I am God. To say I am God is not an ego. You know why? To say I am so and so is to separate myself from everything else. Individuality comes. To say I am all is no ego, because to whom is he going to tell? God cannot tell that I am somebody, because he is the only one. There is nothing else. So when a person reaches that state, he goes beyond all dharmas. Because what is there? He reached the goal. When we reach the goal, you don't need any implements. The body and mind are what? Implements for the soul to know who I am, who he is, who you are. It's 31 and 32. The Lord was specifically directing Arjuna, you have to fight. Fighting means what? We should not take literally, it is to take part in a war. That means wherever we are, that is our fight. What is the fight? Simple example. I am in the office and I have to discharge my duty. Many negative thoughts could come. Oh, I have overworked. I have been working since the last 10 hours. How long am I going to work? And then the boss is very bad, etc., etc. Negative thoughts stop. And yet you cannot go. This is the paradoxical situation. You know that you have to work. And these negative thoughts will increase or decrease your misery. Discharging Swadharma, it can be done in two ways. That's very important for us to know the distinction between the discharging of one's duty can be done in two ways. One, I want to be happy in this world. I am going to discharge my duties in the proper way. This is called Dharma Palana, practice of Dharma. I don't want any worldly result. I want to attain self-realization. That is called Karma Yoga. Karma and Karma Yoga, these are the two ways. The Lord has been telling Arjuna that at least do the karma. Karma means your discharging of the proper duties. Then also what happens? Two things will happen. When we lead a righteous life, when we discharge our duties in the proper way, but with the idea of enjoying this world, two things will happen. First, we get happiness, because the inevitable result of dharma is punya. Dharma produces punya. Punya translates itself into happiness. What does punya do? What does papa do? You understand? Punya means virtue, papa means sin. What do these really do? Punya is the ability of the mind to make oneself happy under any circumstance. Whether you have things, you don't have things, it doesn't depend. This is a well-known thing. A man with a lot of things could be very unhappy. And a person with very few things could be very, very happy. Like the story of the king. Very briefly, there was a king. He was very unhappy. He had everything but was very unhappy. So he called his ministers for a meeting, emergency meeting, and said, find out a way how I can be very happy. And they came with the idea, you, O king, you must find a person who is most happy in this world and put on his clothes. Immediately the king sent his soldiers in the four directions to find out a happy person. After 6 months of search they came. King asked, did you find a happy man? Said, very happy man we found. Where are his clothes? They said he had no clothes. Very beautiful story, meaning even a person having nothing could be extremely happy. That is what quite a number of wandering monks. Even Nangta, Sri Ramakrishna's teacher, what was he called? Nangta. Nangta means what?
Naked.
There are no clothes. There are so many sadhus, Kumbh Mela time is a big festival. You can see hundreds of these people. A person who has practically nothing could be very happy, or it doesn't mean a person who has things is not happy. He could be also happy. Depends upon the punya. A king, Janaka Maharaja, very happy. Or a person who doesn't have things could be very unhappy, and a person who has plenty of things could also be very unhappy. What is the point? Happiness, unhappiness have nothing to do with what one has. And when a religious person tells this, people do not usually believe. But when psychologists tell us, then the people will believe. Yes, there was one very great social psychologist. He wrote a most wonderful book. The title of the book is To Be or To Have. Eric Fromm. To Be or To Have. So the summary of his book is very, very simple. In this world, there are two sorts of people. Those who have and those who are. The analysis at the end is everything depends upon what a man is and not what a man has. He outlined how we can also achieve that state where what we are is the only thing that counts. And that's what spiritual life is all about. It's nothing to do. You have things, you don't have things, you are married, you are not married. These are all extenuating circumstances. Because so many householders, for example, Nag Maharshi, M. Ramchandra Datta, these are shining examples. They are householders. At the beginning they are all involved. But by following Sri Ramakrishna's footsteps, they become exemplars of how a person could be Ananda Swarupa, not Sukha Swarupa. That is what the Lord wants. What is the point we are discussing? What is Punya? The ability to be happy whether we have things or not. What is Papa? The contrary. So if anybody commits sin, then what happens? Suffering is the inevitable result. The Lord is advising Arjuna, you discharge your duties from these two standpoints. What is it? If you want to be happy in this world, then also you have to discharge your duties properly. But if you want eternal happiness, infinite happiness, which is called spiritual life, then you have to practice what is called Karma Yoga. What is the first one? Dharma Yoga. Because karma, that word can bring in negative understanding. Dharma Yoga is for happiness in this world. Karma Yoga is for realization of one's nature and to be eternally and infinitely happy. Now, the next point is, if someone believes in the scriptures, because even to perform Dharma Yoga, practice Dharma, he has to have faith in. Why is it? Why? Because we know that life is very short here. For that you don't need any scripture. How many people every day they are dying because somebody shoots, somebody runs a van, somebody runs a truck and somebody throws a bomb. Every day we get the news. What is the implication? That life is very unpredictable. So now, supposing a person really wants to take up the life of Dharma, I will be truthful, I will be honest, I will be sincere, and I will discharge my duty. Does it guarantee immediate happiness? It doesn't. Because that's why we say good people, goodness creates a lot of suffering. Seemingly, most of it. Whereas wickedness produces immediate gratification. No, I don't say gratification, some profit. He can get money. Happiness is totally different issue. This creates doubts in us that if there is a God, why is it that we can't see wickedness punished and goodness rewarded? Now that is where the scriptures have got a lot to say. We already discussed very extensively, very briefly what it means is that we have to believe in the law of karma. What does that mean? I am what I am now because of what I did in the past. And because of what I did in the past, if I am now in the condition when I am suffering, then any amount of good that I do right now will not produce immediate happiness, but it will produce happiness at the right time. It could be in this life in future or it could be in next life. We don't know. In a similar way, the people who are evil people, wicked people, when they are enjoying something, you should not attribute causal relationship that because they are doing wrong thing, they are able to enjoy. In our mind, that strong idea to have things is to be happy and not to have things or money, etc. is to be unhappy. Somehow it gets stuck in our brain, which is not absolutely no causal relationship between things and either happiness or unhappiness. But there is a causal relationship between punya and papa. Causal relationship. The moment you are dharmic, you should be very happy. If you are not happy, but you are doing dharmic, so-called dharmic, really there is a conflict. Because dharma is a state of the mind, as I said, Punya is a state of mind where we derive happiness in spite of everything. If we don't have faith in the scripture, and the scriptures are always talking about, especially Hindu scriptures. When I mean scriptures, I mean only specifically Vedas. They are talking about past life. They are talking about also future life. If we don't have faith, we will not find justice in it, and then we are not likely to take up what you call dharmic activity. With this background, what happens when a person observes dharma karma? First of all, because of his dharmic way of life, he is accumulating punya. And what does punya do? It only brings, there is a problem. So dharma is like topping up your mobile phone. How long will it work? Every time, that gets, your happiness gets exhausted, you have to top it up. It has got a special quality, special result. Do you know what is the result? Because we are following the scriptures, very slowly it purifies our mind. Then that purified mind means what? Slowly we are evolving from a state of tamas to a state of sattva. A time will come when we become jignasu. Jignasu means what? Inquirers into truth. It is then we say, I had enough of life. I experienced both happiness and unhappiness. What now? A time will come. Definitely, it is not a question of choice. It will come. So at that time, what does the person do? He still continues to do the same dharmic activity. But now, he says, I do not wish any worldly end. I wish only spiritual progress. That is what the Lord is telling, these 2 points. For those who do not take to the exclusive spiritual life, what is the next step? That one has to discharge one's duties slowly, and it will purify the mind, etc. But there are people who do not believe in that also. Then the third stratagem the Lord is giving, at least Baba, you don't believe in God, you don't believe in future life, you don't believe in dharma or punya or swargaloka, but okay, but at least do you want to live with a bad name in this world? Therefore, discharge your duties, at least for the sake of being, others' opinion about you would be that he is a good person, nice person. If at least this good name you have to live. Now, the point is, we are all living with this kind of opinion. So I also gave the example. When this Sharatha didn't want to grant 2 bones to Kaikeyi, then she tried. Then she brought out this strategy that in your whole lineage, no king had ever given a word and then gone back on it. You will be creating history. The moment she said that, he shut his mouth. That means what? I don't want to go down history as a bad person. I also quoted in my last classes, how many people, all these Hitler, so long as there would be history, their names also will be there, good or bad. Yeah, good people also will be there, wicked people also. Whenever you read about Hitler, etc., Genghis Khan, etc., what is the thought that comes in your mind? Good or bad? You see, the same thing can happen to us also, to any one of us, if we lead a really bad life. Even if nobody knows, God knows what we are doing, and then what is the result? We will be very unhappy. This was the third track. So Krishna Bhagavan has told, at least Baba, your enemies will propagate your name in the 4th estate. Understand? 4th estate means TV, newspaper. Duryodhana was the government. So they will use all their advertising strategies that Arjuna had run away. They would not know why you run away. This was the advice Sri Krishna has given to Arjuna. Then, this is verse 33 to 37, that not discharging one's duty is very blameworthy. You should do it. Then, also, you should not run away from the battle. Whatever happens, hatova prapsase swargam. If you defeat your enemy, if you die in battle, you will go to heaven. If you win, then you will enjoy here. Tasmat yuddhaya kritanischaya uttishta. Therefore, get up and discharge your duty. Then, 30th to 40, the Lord has hinted at karma yoga. Yes, so that is what we discussed in our last class. What is that? Sukha dukkhe samay kritva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasva na evam papam avapsyasi. Whenever this word papa comes, substitute it with suffering. This is the way not to suffer. What is it? First of all, it says sukha and dukkha. Labha and alabha. Then sukha, dukkha, gain and loss. Gain and loss are victory or defeat. And thinking that I gained something and I lost something. And mental reaction, I am happy or I am unhappy. These occur at 3 levels. What is the 3 levels? In this world, we may gain something, we may lose something. We may get something, we may lose something. This is a physically something that could happen. If it happens in our mind, the moment we come to know, thoughts arise. What is the thought? Today I gained something, today I lost something. Up to this, there is no problem. It is a fact of life. Then what happens? When I think the thought comes, I gained something, I am happy. And when I thought comes, I have lost something, then there would be unhappiness. At the physical level, at the mental level, at the emotional level. All the time, our minds, our personalities are working at these 3 levels. This is the event that is happening, these are the thoughts that are arising, and this is my reactions. And if you become a victim to these things, you can never become a karma yogi. The Lord is hinting at that if for getting the realization of God, what is the way to do it? Sadhana. Sadhana means spiritual practice. Spiritual practice means what? Wherever we are, whatever we are, we have to move forward. That moving forward in our life, wherever we are, whatever we are, and move in the appropriate direction. That is called spiritual practice. In this spiritual practice, what is the most important instrument? Mind. Because there are the 3 levels. All the time, these 3 levels. Simple example. Today you have come. I have been speaking. So what is it? Oh, some nice points. Swamiji said. Certain things not clear. This would be the physical thing. In your mind, then you say Swamiji spoke nicely. No, he was only rambling. This could be your thoughts. If Swamiji spoke very nicely, if that thought comes, that means simultaneously what happens? I am very happy, I have come to this class, I gained something. Oh, he is rambling. That means I could have gone and be happy somewhere watching cricket or TV or doing gardening or chit-chatting or whatever. This would be at every given moment, accepting in deep. We are subject to these 3. Physical events, mental thoughts, and emotional reaction. There is no problem with the physical facts. There is no problem with the thoughts. The problem comes in the emotional reaction. This is what we call CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. The whole essence of it is somebody is unhappy. The person is taken. It's a pure spiritual advice. What is this? What happened? This has happened. Many times we have no power over the events that take. In fact, we have no power at all because of our prarabdha karma. But the thoughts also will arise so long as we are in the waking state, so long as we are in the dreams. That is absolutely fine. But then the emotional level, that is where we are upset. A yogi doesn't get up. So as I said, one of our Swamis, very funnily he puts it. Whenever something a little bit out of the ordinary happens, what do we say? What? But if you become a karma yogi, what do we say? So what? Oh, I won 50 million pounds. Somebody can have heart attack. What? But if he is a yogi, so what? For everything, happiness, unhappiness, any event, he doesn't react. He reacts, not that he will be unhappy, he will be a stone. He is always happy. So that is what we need to achieve. That is what the Lord is telling, that for you have to start to do karma yoga. For that he gave a hint. What is the hint? Sukha dukkhe samay kritva. Labha labhau jaya jaya. Sukha and dukkha, emotional level. Labha and alabha, mental level. And to gain something and to lose something at the physical. Jaya and apajaya. It at the physical, gross level. I won, I didn't gain. Means I got something, I lost something. Physically. Thoughts, I gained something, I lost something. Emotional level, I am happy, I'm happy. What should we do? Same kritva. Means you be balanced, equanimous. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam is called yoga. From verse 41 to 45, the Lord is urging Arjuna. Means what? Always whenever we take the name of Arjuna, you must remember he is addressing each one of us. Because we are all in the Arjuna Vishada Yogas, first of all. That means we are miserable like Arjuna. Only he was miserable for a short time. We are miserable for a long time. Second is we are all potential divinity. Therefore, today or tomorrow, consciously or unconsciously, we are all moving towards them. What is the way? Practice yoga. What yoga? Karma yoga. Why karma yoga? Because already we are involved in activities. You are a housewife, so you have got certain duties to do it. You cannot escape them. But can you escape from the influence of sukha and dukkha? Yes, that is what is called practice of yoga. Keep the mind, everything. Enjoy everything. But keep the mind equanimous. Don't move up and down. That is called practice of yoga. Now, verses 46 to 53, Karma Yoga in brief, a little more elaboration. Then verse 54, the most beautiful question by Arjuna. Having heard all this, what is the first thing? Supposing somebody goes on telling you about spiritual glory, the glory of spiritual life. And it's most wonderful to hear about it. Next, Swami, have you ever seen a person who really actually existed, who attained to this state? And if you have seen, then how does he behave in this? Or in other words, how can I recognize a person when I see him, whether he is really spiritual or not spiritual? From verse 55 to 72, which is called Sthita Prajna Lakshana, that is the characteristics of a realized soul, self-realized soul, like Ramana Maharshi, for example, Ramakrishna, etc. What are the characteristics? So what are the characteristics of a good musician? Suppose you hear a good musician's name. Somebody praised that person. How do you know he's a good musician? Ultimately, there must be some characteristic. Yes, he knows the Raga Swarupa, in fact the 6 things. Shruti, Bhava, then Sahitya and Raga, and the Shruti, Laya and Tala. Bhava means feeling. Last time I expounded. Then what is the Sahitya, the lyrics. Then Raga, it must be tuned appropriately to express that particular emotion. Then Shruti. Shruti means the correct pitch each one of us have got. Then Laya, rhythm. Tala means that rhythm particularly tied to that particular lyrics. These are the 6 components of music. So how do you know? So this person knows about Shruti, Bhava, wonderful, and Sahitya is wonderful, Raga is marvelous, and his Shruti is perfect, and his Laya and Tala are perfect. Then he must be a great musician, Ustad. This is how we hear about. But nothing like, how do you recognize? When you next go to a concert, then you observe whether all these 6 lakshanas, characteristics, are being manifest in that person or not. Then you will know he is a very ustad. So how do we know who is a spiritual person? This is one of the questions. We know here are the certain characteristics, and till the end of this 2nd chapter, from 55 to 72, 18 verses, the Lord is expounding the characteristics of a realized soul, or a man of samadhi. So the name given is Sthita Prajna. Prajna means understanding. Sthita means absolutely rock solid. It never changes because our understanding goes up and down. Sri Ramakrishna used to give a beautiful parable, There were 3 dolls made up of a stone, cloth and salt. All the 3 were thrown into the ocean. Now you know what happened? The stone just goes down. Nothing happened. The cloth, half the salt water it absorbs, but it still retains its individual form. But the salt doll, completely becomes merged in the ocean. So he used to say 3 types of spiritual people. Some people hear everything and remain like stone. Some people, they absorb something, they progress to some extent, but they also are struggling. And most of us are like, but realized souls are like salt dolls, completely become one with God. That's why they may not use the word, I am God. Nobody, no realized will say, I am God. Aham Brahmasmi. It is there in the scripture. But they don't say. You have to understand by their behavior. With this background, in the verse 40, second chapter, we discussed last time. Na iha abhikrama nashaha asti pratyavayah na vidyate swalpamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhaya. In this, means in this practice of karma yoga, there is no loss of effort. That means even if you do little, it won't stop giving you the results. For example, if you are appearing for an examination, you studied well, entered into the examination hall and answered only the first question, 63 other questions are left out, you come out. What would be the result? A big purna. But if you are practicing karma yoga, then even if you practice this, that means what? 1 minute make your mind equanimous. How much happiness you get for 1 minute? You don't say 1 minute is not enough. If you practice for 1 hour equanimity, then I will give you 1 minute of the result of equanimity. Is it like that? 1 minute you are happy, 1 minute you are happy. Yeah. 1 hour you are happy, 1 hour you are happy. It all depends upon karma yoga. There is no fear that effort will be lost. Why? Because 1 minute you practice concentration. That means that becomes your samskara. And after 1 month, you add for another minute. Now 2 minutes. Not that if you have left it, it will go away. It will add. Whereas any other effort, you are driving towards London. After 10 minutes you turn back. So where will you find yourself? 10 minutes before or now here? That is called the effect of normal activity. But karma yoga, it is a state of mind. It is a way we view things. Therefore, there is no loss at all. That's what the Lord is. Even a little bit of practice of karma yoga saves us from great fear. What is the fear? Unhappiness. Another way of fear. For example, let me give an example. Suppose you are traveling and suddenly somebody had put a gun behind you. Can you understand what fear, what misery, what unhappiness you go through? Terrible, isn't it? Suppose you heard this Gita class and this happened after that. And then you say, okay, Lord, I surrender myself to you. Whatever happens, let it happen. Suppose you are able to keep that attitude for 5 minutes. In that 5 minutes, are you free from fear or not? Are you happy or not? Now I will give you a concrete example. Draupadi, in what a terrible misery she must have been when people were trying to disrobe her, isn't it? Then she is very beautiful, this one, she was holding the saree and praying to Krishna. Krishna didn't come. Then she understood, if I rely upon God, I must not put any obstruction in his. That means self-effort and God's effort, they don't go together. So the moment she left her hands and said, Krishna, I leave everything. Immediately, saris happened to. Now what is my point? When she was praying to Krishna, until she started praying to, what was her state of mind? The most horrible condition, isn't it? The moment she surrendered herself to Krishna, now you tell me, was she fearing? Was she unhappy? She was most happy. But people don't depict like that. As though tears were running, she was uttering Krishna, the saris were coming, and she was not happy. They should show the moment she surrendered, she was most happy person. So if we can keep that attitude under any circumstance, even for 1 minute, our profit is 1 minute. 1 minute our mind becomes absolutely free from all fear, constrictions and happy positively. You have to understand. Because in our normal day-to-day life, what happens is, you are in 3 states. Either you are happy, you are happy. You are not happy, you are not happy. In between state, you are neither happy nor unhappy. You should not imagine that. When you surrender yourself to God, are you happy or just neutral state, you will be very happy because you are relying totally upon God. This is what Sri Ramakrishna's beautiful teaching. There are two sorts of sadhakas. Two boys, one boy was traveling. He had to cross a difficult path. In between the fields, there is a small land, and then the fields were flooded with water, and the child has to walk. What happens? He and his father both are walking. Child is holding the hand of the father. Another child, he was not holding. The father was holding him, and he was moving. Now, who would be the safe person? The child who is holding the father's hand, or the father who is holding the child's hand? Who will be the fearless person? Safe person. So Sri Ramakrishna used to tell the attitude of young one of a monkey and the attitude of the young one of the kitten and young monkey. Sharanagati means young monkey. The people who traverse the path of knowledge is like people who are holding the hands of the father. And the people who are completely surrendered is like the father who is holding the hands of the child. Svalpamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahatu. Even little bit of spiritual practice helps and saves us a great lot. That is what we have discussed in our last. Then from verse 41 and I think up to verse 37, the Lord is verse 45, condemning what is called ritualism. A brief background I will give you, and before understanding this one. So there are two pathways in human evolution. The first is, last week I think we discussed in our great master, the path of iti and the path of neti. Very significant this. Iti means what? Devotional path. So devotional path, self-surrender comes, etc. and then we progress. But a time will come then God himself will take us and then take us to the highest. Now here in the practice of Karma Yoga doesn't start whenever we want. Karma Yoga has to start first of all with the practice of Dharma. That means discharging our duty. That is why this Karma Yoga are two types. Most people will not teach you two types of Karma Yoga, only one type. What are the two types? Sakama Karma Yoga and Nishkama Karma Yoga. Sakama means what? A person is a devotee. He believes in God. He has got some worldly desires, but he practices Karma Yoga. What type of Karma Yoga? Sakama Karma Yoga. That means what? Oh Lord, I rely upon you. You are like my mother and father, and I pray to you. Whatever you think is good for me. He is not free from worldly desire. But yet, he is not like a worldly person. He believes in God. He surrenders himself to God. His prayer is, if you wish, you fulfill my desires. And that is the lower path. Sakama Karma Yoga. Why did they say it is Karma Yoga? Sakama cannot be Karma Yoga. That is what most people think. That is because thinking is not there. Nishkama Karma Yoga is not possible for us. It is only possible for God. Or God realizes. Nishkama means what? I don't want anything. What is the difference? The people who claim that they are practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga, it means I don't want any worldly result, Baba, I want you. I don't want 100,000, 1 million, 1 billion, I want infinity. Who is more selfish? Sakama Karma Yogi, less selfish. Nishkama Karma Yogi, he wants no less than God who is infinite. Humorous way of putting it. But really speaking, we all have to start Sakama Karma Yoga. That means it requires certain conditions to be fulfilled. What are the conditions? First, we must have faith that scriptures are. Second, we must surrender ourselves to God. Third, we must practice to the best of our capacity to discharge our duties correctly in the right way. Fourth, we have to offer these things to God. And fifth, we have to wait for God's grace to bestow whatever we deserve. This is also Sakama Karma Yoga. What is the difference now? You have to be clear. Sakama Karma Yoga means I have a desire for certain worldly enjoyment. I do everything right. I offer it to God, but I depend upon God's grace for the fulfillment of my worldly desires. For example, Dhruva. Dhruva prayed to God, Narayana, isn't it? What did he want? He started with Sakama Karma Yoga. God came. And the moment he saw God, he forgot all about it. He said, he became Nishkama Karma Yogi. He said, now I don't want anything. Then the Lord said, I will give you whether you want it or not. Because this will encourage people who do not have that much of pure mentality. Then he said, this Dhruva had done so much austerity. What did he gain? It's all waste. So let us not waste our time. He found out after wasting time, and I am wiser. I don't want even to start because I know it is useful. But the moment they see that you performed austerities and you got something very high, that very moment they will also, oh, he got it. How did he get? By surrendering himself to God. And therefore people will be encouraged. I will give you an eternal kingdom. This is called Dhruva Rajya. Dhruva Nakshatra we call it. This is this Sakama Karma Yoga, lower Karma Yoga. In course of time, if we practice it, and there is no choice, you can't choose, now shall I take number 1 or number 2? It is like step number 1 and step number 2. Then you enter into Nishkama Karma Yoga. What is Nishkama Karma Yoga? I don't want any worldly desire results. I want only spiritual enlightenment. By your grace, I want to know what is my true nature. There is a desire. This is called mumukshuta, intense desire for liberation. This is the desire. But true Nishkama Karma Yoga is not possible for anybody who is a sadhaka. It is possible only for a realized soul, not jignasu, for a gnani, realized soul, because he has attained everything. So whatever he does, it is all for the welfare of the world. And in fact, we say that. We should say that. Because when a person has merged in God, then who operates through that body-mind? Only God. There is no individual there. There was no Sri Ramakrishna, there was no Ramana Maharshi. That's why when Ramana Maharshi was about to pass away, the devotees were very sad that they won't be able to see. His reply was, where do I go? Until this time, I was confined in this body. Now, I will be even more manifest. In Dharma Yoga, you don't need even to bring in equation of God. You just know that this is the right thing to do and you just do. But then, as I said, it is almost impossible to practice Dharma Yoga without faith in the scripture. The moment you have faith in the scriptures, 3 things come into equation. First, there is a God, and secondly, there is a life after death, and there is also future life is there. All the 3 come into equation. But then, he may not explicitly say that I believe in God. Because there are so many people who do not believe in God, who do not believe in afterlife, but they are highly principled people. They will never do anything wrong knowingly. Quite a number of people are there. And they are far superior to so many people who claim they are spiritual or religious and then going on doing all akramas. How do we know? 99 fellows that come to the Tirupati, in their hundi, what are they putting? Nothing but black money. And God is the biggest machine to turn it into white money. Then the Lord is condemning the people. So, just I will give you introduction in this class. There are people who believe not in spiritual life, but in enjoying this world, both in this life and after death. In this life means in future. After death means going to heavenly world, etc. And we are all like that. As I mentioned, it's not that from the very beginning we become spiritual. We progress gradually towards. The Vedas are divided into 2 parts. It is academical division, not real division. Academically, the people divide in. First part is called what? Karma Kanda. Second part is called what? Gnana Kanda. What is Karma Kanda? In Vedas, certain ways of actions are prescribed by following which our life on this earth or in heaven becomes very fruitful and we get what we want. We remain more or less happy. And as I said, happiness is of 2 types. Karmic happiness and existential happiness. Karmic unhappiness and existential unhappiness. What is the difference? Karmic happiness and unhappiness. It all depends upon our karma. But existential happiness and unhappiness has nothing to do with us. If it is winter season, it is equal for saints, sinners, everybody. Old age is common to everybody. Disease also is common to every saint also. Does he become old or not? Yeah. And they can also suffer from various ailments. No saying anything. And ultimately, even incarnations of God also have to give up the body, die. That's why the song says, Sri Rama bhajo dukha me sukha me bahuvira huve balavan huve. How many heroes were not there on this earth? How many great people were not there? Strong people were not there? Abu kaun kaha? Where are they? Kuch dhyana dharo. Think a little deeper. Sri Rama bhajo dukha. Beautiful song. Sukha. So this is a fact of life. Existential happiness, unhappiness equal to everybody. But the difference comes in karmic happiness, karmic unhappiness. And that karmic happiness we can get by following the karma kanda. Karma kanda produces happiness both in this life, in future, now, and also in future. After passing away this body, we can be reborn in higher worlds. And this first part of the Vedas also deal with that if you do not follow our injunction, then what happens? Your future also will be unhappy here while you are alive, and your future after death also will be very unhappy, which is called hell. We must have that faith. For the next few verses, the Lord is condemning severely all people who follow the karma kanda. Now, why I specifically brought up this subject? Lest we may think we are free from karma kanda, we will just push it aside and straight away jump into jnana kanda. That is not going to happen. So how does it happen? That first of all, we follow sakama karma yoga. Sakama, first stage, karma. Karma means indiscriminate type of acting, right, wrong, everything. Animals do, children do, and indiscriminate people will do it. The second step is dharma karma. That means what? A person understands through long experience, if I do certain things, I am sure to suffer. If I do certain things, I am sure to be happy. Simple example, some students, even at a small level, they understand. If I don't study, my future is not good. This was so beautifully tested in what you call marshmallow test. Once I have explained this one. You know all that. These are called not merely acting, but dharmic type of acting. So in that two ways I said. Those who seek happiness, earthly happiness, either in this life, after death. And those who want slowly to progress in spiritual life. Karma, dharma, nishkama karma, and ultimately moksha. This is one way of dividing human life.
In one word, somebody dies at the middle of
no
they
problem.
Will start from where they stopped.
Exactly.
So they don't have to do nishkama yoga, the sakama yoga.
They will continue. And when they fulfill certain desires, then the thought comes, how much time I have to top it up. And then they becomes a jignasu. It's beautiful. Distress, then fulfillment of many desires, then inquiry into life, becoming a philosopher, and then ultimately he becomes a gnani. These are the four stages divided by the Lord himself. Chaturvidha bhajante imam janaha sukrutino arjuna artaha arjignasu artharthi gnani cha bharatarshava. Very beautifully. Now what we want to know, in the next 5 verses, the Lord is severely condemning those people who are devoted exclusively to this first part, karma kanda, and then they go on preaching, nothing else need to be done. There is nothing else, there is no God, nothing else, just to struggle for your happiness. The Lord is severely condemning. But the point to understand is, it doesn't mean we have a choice that from the very beginning, since Bhagavan is advising us, we will give up all sakama karma. It is not going to. Without going through kindergarten, nursery, elementary school, middle school, high school, then pre-college time and all that, it is a gradual. Whom is the Lord condemning these things? For people who had practiced enough amount of time these things, and now it is time for them to move away and for those who are seekers. Because until we seek, the Lord will not give us the instruction. But when the natural longing comes, it is for them. He is talking about this. He condemns. Then if you are condemning it, then what is the way? How do you want me to really live life? That is where for the next few verses he is telling about pure practice of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means I want only God realization, self-knowledge for them. Then at the end of it, as I mentioned, Arjuna asks, Sthita Pragnasya Bhasha Samadhistasya Keshava Sthitadhi Kim Prabhasheta Kimasita Vrajeta. What are the characteristics of a realized soul? How does he sit? How does he walk? How does he talk? In other words, how do I recognize such a person? Then the Lord gives description from 55 to 72, nearly 18 verses. Beautiful description. There is the Shankaracharya, he gives him the qualities which are the natural expression of a realized soul. When a person realizes the self, these are the very natural qualities. Without any effort, they manifest. Those qualities must be assiduously cultivated by people who are aspiring to self-realization. Very beautiful way is what we in our next.